Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon to all of you who are with me in the afternoon here in the United States and wherever you are. If you're on the times in the same time zone, good afternoon. If you're live with me, if not, good morning, good day, good evening, good midday, good night, whichever it is. I'm just so happy that you are here with me on this particular time. We are live in the central time zone here from Dallas, Texas, on this 28th day of October in the year 2025. And I am so thankful, thankful, thankful that God has allowed us to be here together at this time, whatever time it is. Dear God, as I sit before you to speak, I pray to you that my soul you will keep. And if I should die before I finish, I pray to you, dear God, in the name of Jesus, that any outstanding sins will be forgiven. Amen. And that is for all of us. God is so good to us. We're going to get right into this, and it is the good and not so good points of vulnerability. The good and not so good points of vulnerability. And I am in Psych Central, I am in Psychology Today, and I am in Psych Share. Haven't been in Psych Share before. I can't recall ever being there, so this I believe this is my first time sharing from Psych Share. But all of it's psych today. Okay, so I'm going to go with vulnerability, weaknesses are your greatest superpower. And this is from Psych Share. Psych Share. This was published in on June 22nd, 2025. This year, okay? This year, this calendar year. And I am so thankful. And Ajua Bejubing. Ajua Bejubing. And it's comfort Ajua Bejubing. That's who it's by. And vulnerability, it is a word that stirs discomfort because none of us want to be related or what is it described as being vulnerable, because vulnerable has always to me been a negative point or a negative expression or a negative description, and nobody wants to be defined or be associated with being vulnerable. Okay, now that's just the way it is. But we're going to talk about vulnerability today, the good and the not so good points of it. So this is very interesting to me, and I thank God for giving this to me today. So vulnerability, and we are coming from comfortshare.com. It is a word that stirs discomfort in many, yet it also speaks to the very heart of human connection. The wind has really risen out here in Dallas. It is blowing. We thank God for the wind, the rain, the sleet, the snow. We thank God for all of it, don't we? We just have to be cautious, be very careful, and be wise when we're dealing with it, okay? So, in a world that is prone to value toughness, perfection, and emotional control, vulnerability can feel like a risky trait, one that may expose us to judgment, rejection, or shame. But is that the full story? Is vulnerability a weakness or superpower? Oh, I like that. Let's get into it. Let's get into vulnerability. I'm just so thankful to God for giving these topics to me. It is it's just wonderful. It's just wonderful. During deciding whether or not vulnerability is good or bad is based on our definition, our experience, and our willingness to engage with it. Psychologically speaking, vulnerability is neither weakness nor recklessness, it is emotional openness. And in this post, we explore why this misunderstood quality may actually be one of the strongest tools for personal growth, authentic relationships, and emotional resilience. All right. So, what is vulnerability in psychology? Psychologically, vulnerability is the capacity to emotionally expose oneself so as to admit fears, ask for help, express needs, and be seen without masks. It is about being courageous enough to say, I am struggling, I care, or I made a mistake, I need help. Again, it is that feeling you experience during moments of raw honesty, whether you are admitting fear, asking for help, or expressing love. Unlike emotional suppression or perfectionism, vulnerability invites connection. When we allow others to witness our authentic experiences, we open the door to empathy and support. From a clinical standpoint, vulnerability becomes essential in the context of emotion focused therapy, trauma recovery, and self comparison practices. It forms the bedrock of mental flexibility and emotional intelligence. Oh, yes, and those phrases we've used, I know once or twice. All right. So, the hidden strength of vulnerability, the hidden strength of vulnerability. Although vulnerability often triggers feelings of fear or exposure, psychological research highlights several benefits. Number one, deeper relationships. From friendships to marriages, vulnerability is the glue that holds intimacy. Intimacy. Ending that sentence, okay? So let me repeat that. From friendships to marriages, vulnerability is the glue that holds intimacy. Being open and truthful about struggles or desires builds mutual trust, intimacy, and compassion. It establishes that we are safe to approach, not because we are flawless, but because we are real. So it helps us to know that we are safe to approach. It establishes that we are safe to approach. Have you ever been around someone and you don't feel safe or comfortable approaching them. I know we've all had that experience. So, this vulnerability, one of the factors in this is deeper relationships. That's the number one. From friendships to marriages, vulnerability is the glue that holds intimacy. Being open and truthful about struggles or desires builds mutual trust, intimacy, and compassion. It establishes that we are safe to approach, not because we are flawless, but because we are real, REAL, and allows relationships to move beyond surface level interactions. People feel seen, valued, and emotionally safe. Number two, emotional resilience. Don't we come across resilience very often on point of view? Some people say often, but I grew up saying often. A silent T. Emotional resilience. Contrary to popular belief, vulnerability does not break us, it rather heals and strengthens us. Being open to talking about distress decreases feelings of shame and loneliness. It makes us seek help, come up with workable solutions, and also gets a better outlook. And also get a better outlook. Most people who fear vulnerability also suffer from high functioning anxiety. They appear capable on the outside while emotionally struggling inside. You may find the silent struggle of high functional anxiety helpful in identifying signs and steps toward healing. So I assume that is a book or an article, and it is the silence struggle of high functioning anxiety. The third point here is authentic self expression. Suppressing vulnerability often leads to emotional dissonance and psychological distress. Being honest and transparent with oneself, however, creates greater self awareness and self acceptance. Do you know that some of us don't accept ourselves? We don't accept ourselves for being who we are. We deny ourselves. We refuse to see us as we really are. So it's saying, however, it creates a greater awareness, and self acceptance. The only way we can correct the flaws in our lives and improve our lives is to accept who we are. Like it said earlier in this article, be real, REAL. Number four, leadership and creativity. Contrary to traditional thinking, vulnerability in leadership is not a liability. Leaders who admit mistakes or share challenges humanize the workplace. They increase employee engagement, as noted in studies from Harvard Business Review. We've been in and used some of the information from the Harvard Business Review before, too. So, next section, when vulnerability feels like a risk. When vulnerability feels like a risk. Fear of vulnerability is usually learned. Many people were raised in environments where showing emotions were dismissed, punished, or ignored. Over time, they learned to internalize the belief that showing feelings makes them weak, needy, and or a burden. And yes, I know we can all relate to that, can't we? Be strong. Don't let people see you cry. Don't let people know they hurt you. You keep a straight face no matter what happens. I think all of us have been given that advice at some time or another. And sometimes, many times, it's best to take that advice. But then we have to realize that we have to accept us personally for who we are and work on the things that are not favorable to our well being emotionally, physically, mentally. Okay? So it would be misleading to describe vulnerability as universally beneficial. Context matters. Not all environments are emotionally safe, and not everyone has earned access to our vulnerable self. This makes so much sense to us, doesn't it? It's for real. REAL for us, okay? Risks of vulnerability without boundaries includes, this is our next section, emotional burnout. Over dis, over disclosure, especially without reciprocation, may leave a person feeling drained or rejected. Next point, exploitation or gaslighting. Oh, we've been through this too, haven't we? These studies here, we've talked about this. Sharing vulnerabilities with someone who lacks empathy or compassion can backfire. And there are some people who do lack empathy. They do. Some people lack compassion. It depends on who they are and who they are showing or not showing compassion and empathy to. So we have to really, really be careful of our uh, the company we keep, and we have to have that self compassion, and we have to be wise. We have to be wise, and we have to have boundaries. We have to set boundaries for ourselves. We talk about that. Sharing vulnerabilities with someone who lacks empathy or compassion can backfire, and that's for real. Some people love to get something on you so they can throw it in your face whenever they get ready. You have to really, really, really be careful, okay? Shame spirals. Shame spirals. Without emotional support, vulnerability may activate internalized shame or deepen existing mental health struggles. That is why it is important to discern when and with whom to be vulnerable. Didn't I just say that in my words, my point of view? I just said it. Safe vulnerability requires boundaries. Didn't I just say it? Safe vulnerability requires boundaries. It thrives in psychologically secure spaces and relationships. Next part here is how to practice vulnerability in healthy ways. Peace of mind counseling is my service, my counseling service. 469-629-9543. 469-629-9543. How to practice vulnerability in healthy ways. Sometimes we just need help. We need help, don't we? Sometimes we need help. And that is the time where you have to get to the right source. You can't talk to any and everybody about your problem. Some people try to coach you or coax you into telling them what's going on or what's wrong or whatever, but it's not good. And I tell you many times that Marina, that's the name we called her name was Marion Wimberly, wise, gifted, talented lady in Denison, Texas. She has gone into eternity now. But she would say, don't tell all you know, but know what to tell. And I live by that. Oh, yes, I do. So if you have grown up equating vulnerability with weakness or learned to suppress emotions, becoming emotionally open may feel foreign, okay? However, it is a skill that can be nurtured with time and intention. So here are gentle strategies to cultivate healthy vulnerability. Who would have ever thought about having healthy vulnerability? How about that? Number one, these are ways to start cultivating healthy vulnerability, okay? Number one, start small. Oh, yes. Start small. I know Dr. J.J. McCollister says little by little. Oh, yes. Start small. Begin communicating feelings in low risk contexts. You might say, I feel anxious about this, or I don't know, but I'd like to try it. Number two, practice with trusted people. Practice with trusted people. Choose relationships where empathy and active listening without judgment are present. Vulnerability is a gift. Offer it to those who honor it. Three, use reflective journaling. Oh, I do that every day. I might skip a day sometime if I go somewhere and don't have my journal with me or whatever, but I do my notes or whatever. So, number three, use reflective journaling. Write about moments when you felt exposed, rejected, or validated. This deepens self awareness and builds emotional vocabulary. Number four, learn to sit with discomfort. Learn to sit with discomfort. Vulnerability makes one fear or feels awkward. These are normal and temporary feelings. Mindfulness and breathing allow you to keep your feet on the ground. Number five, seek professional support therapy. Seek professional support. Therapy can be a place where you can safely process and heal through the vulnerability wounds. Cognitive behavioral techniques, for instance, can help you reframe negative thinking around openness. As you embrace vulnerability, you may need to strengthen your boundaries too. Boundaries, there we go. Read how to set boundaries with family and friends to learn how vulnerability and self protection can coexist. You have to have those boundaries. You have to teach people how close they can get to you in every way. There are some things you don't touch in my life, and I have to teach you that you don't touch that in my life. You have to teach people how to treat you, just like we have to be taught how to treat other people. Okay? Final thoughts. Is vulnerability a good or a bad trait? Vulnerability is not inherently good or bad. It is human. It is the tender root of courage, empathy, and connection. Used wisely, it opens the door to deeper relationships, healing, and personal authenticity. Still, not every situation requires full emotional exposure. You get that? Not every situation requires full emotional exposure. Don't tell all you know, but know what to tell. Knowing how, when, and with whom to be vulnerable is what turns it from a perceived weakness into a powerful act of emotional intelligence. In a society that often rewards perfection, embracing your vulnerability might be the most radical and healthy thing you can do. It does not make you fragile, it makes you real. Oh my goodness, that is so good. That is so good. So this is psychshare.com. Now we go right on to our next Psychology Today. Psychology Today. And this is by Takiki Davis, PhD. Three benefits of vulnerability. Is vulnerability good? Here are some reasons why it is. This is posted April 3rd, 2023. It's reviewed by Davia Seals. Key points: being vulnerable may seem difficult as it often involves acknowledging and validating sometimes painful emotions. The second point is contrary to popular opinion, vulnerability actually tends to reduce anxiety. And you know that you've talked to someone about how you are feeling or a problem or something, and that gives you a release at the time. It makes you just be able to, what is it? What is that? Exhale, exhale. Yeah. So we all know how that feels. All right. Next point, a willingness to be vulnerable can also lead to greater self awareness and stronger relationships. All right, here we go. Here we go. This it was co-written by Arashte Gatchpazian and Takiki Davis. All right. So there are a lot of ways to define vulnerability. The term vulnerable means to be susceptible to harm. You hear that? The term vulnerable means to be susceptible to harm. HARM. Another way to describe vulnerability could be at risk. That's how we see it. I've always seen it like that. Putting yourself at risk by exposing yourself to others emotionally and even physically, mentally, at risk. Oh, yes. And many people do put themselves at risk too. And susceptible to harm. At the root of it, this harm comes from your emotional experiences. Being emotionally vulnerable involves the process of acknowledging your emotions especially those that are uncomfortable or painful. Acknowledging your emotions, especially those that are uncomfortable or painful. Acknowledging painful emotions can be difficult because it is human nature to avoid experiences that hurt us. Oftentimes, instead of fully experiencing and acknowledging an unpleasant emotional experience, we may do things that help distract us. Oh, yes, we want to get our minds off of it. That is so true. We try to do everything we can not to face it. Oh, yes. For instance, when you feel sad, you may call a friend for emotional support and ask for advice. When you feel angry, you may blow off some steam through healthy, for example, going for a run, or unhealthy, example, drinking, drinking, and habits, okay? When you feel anxious, you may prepare for worst case scenarios. This first part, emotional vulnerability, can be thought of as a two-step process. Emotional vulnerability can be thought of as a two-step process. The first is simply observing your emotions. For example, notice that you are feeling anger, sadness, or anxiety without thinking about it or acting on it. The next step is validating your emotions. Validating your emotions would mean reminding yourself that it is okay to feel whatever emotions you're going through. That's what we have to do. And many times we don't want to do that because we feel that we're opening up ourselves up to harm. Oh, yes. So this means there is no judgment or self criticism. Next, emotional acceptance and vulnerability. Emotional acceptance, we're in psychology today, is an active process that involves turning towards one's emotions and deeply engaging with those emotions. Importantly, emotional acceptance is not a passive resignation to one's emotions or one's situation. It's just acknowledging the existence of something and trying not to mentally fight it. Contrary to intuition, engaging with emotions via emotional acceptance does not exacerbate these emotions. In fact, emotional acceptance can meaningfully improve people's emotional experiences over time. For example, uh, Ford said in 2018, that's because it is often better to acknowledge our painful emotions than try to avoid them. It's important to note, however, that it is not realistic to always do this. Yes, it's not. You would be emotionally exhausted if you reflected and pondered upon every single emotion and mood during the day. We'd just be drained, wouldn't we? The benefits of vulnerability, the good and not so good points of vulnerability. That's what our topic is. The benefits of vulnerability, and this is in psychology today. Number one, it can ease your anxiety. You may be thinking that encountering painful emotions is a recipe for increasing anxiety, but in fact, it can do the opposite. Many people who suffer from chronic anxiety believe that feeling bad is harmful and that negative emotions are to be feared. When you begin practicing vulnerability, you send a different message to your brain. When you begin acknowledging your emotions and allowing yourself to experience them, it's a signal to yourself that negative emotions are not all that bad, which can reduce your overall anxiety. This is nice, isn't it? Ooh, wee. All right, number two, it can strengthen relationships. The good points of vulnerability. It can strengthen relationships. Vulnerability can strengthen relationships by building trust and intimacy. The first step is to be open and vulnerable to yourself by acknowledging your emotions, and then you can work your way up to being vulnerable with your loved ones, such as friends or a romantic partner. Oh, yes, I did say that. Oh, I'm so glad. Oh, yes. We got it together. Thank you, God. Number three, it can help you become more self aware. By acknowledging your emotions and thought problems, you begin to recognize your defense mechanisms and emotional blind spots. It is often the case that the more we try to push away painful emotions, the stronger they get. So, becoming aware of emotions is often helpful. How to be more vulnerable. What? Did you hear that? In Psychology Today, this subtopic here is how to be more vulnerable. Did you ever think you'd hear that? I didn't. Number one, label your emotions. Try to describe how you're feeling in the simplest of terms instead of reasoning to vague descriptions such as I'm feeling a bit stressed. Be concrete and say, I'm feeling angry and hurt from the fight I had yesterday with my partner. Imagine you are describing how you were feeling to a child. Imagine when you acknowledge it yourself, just imagine you're describing it to a child, and we have to break it down so that a child can understand it. Okay? So, what did it tell us to do? Be real. REAL. Oh my goodness. This is nice. Number two, try journaling. There we go again. Journaling can be a powerful tool to help you become more vulnerable. Try using emotion focused journaling to help you articulate how you are feeling and acknowledge those emotions. This will help you express your emotions to yourself, which can help you slowly build up to expressing them to other people. First, you have to be able to express them to yourself, and then you will be able to express them to other people. Sometimes we try to express to other people, but we don't understand ourselves. We don't express it to ourselves. So let's practice on ourselves first before we try to give it to somebody else. Let somebody else try to describe it to them, okay? We. Number three, seek professional help. It always comes up, doesn't it? Seek professional help. Therapy or counseling. is an amazing opportunity for you to practice expressing your emotions on a regular basis. Not only do you have to articulate how you feel, but your therapist may also help you acknowledge painful emotions you may have repressed in your past. And I think all of us have those, don't we? And sometimes when they come up, they come out, they seem to overwhelm us. Oh, yes. So, in sum, here we're going to sum it up here in psychology today. SUM. Vulnerability can be a difficult thing to experience, but it's important to do so, as being vulnerable can help you grow and improve your relationships. Over and over, we said that, haven't we? Hopefully, this article offered some strategies that will help you manage the experience of being vulnerable with more ease. Oh, this is good. All right. And it said it was also published in the Berkeley Wellbeing Institute, by the Berkeley Wellbeing Institute, this article. Okay, now we're going to Psych Central. Psych Central. You know, this is one of our favorites also. This is, let me see, I want to give credit. Medically reviewed by Bethany Juby, Psych D, written by Marissa Moore, updated on October 11th, 2022. The good kind of vulnerability. The good kind of vulnerability. Did you ever, I know I'm asking this question again, did you ever think that there would be anything good in being vulnerable? Being vulnerable can help foster intimacy and trust in your relationships over and over again. All three articles have told us this, haven't they? Practicing self compassion, there we go, can help you cope with negative emotions associated with vulnerability. Oh, yes. Opening up to others can be difficult, but you might have difficulty forming and maintaining relationships if you remain closed off. Some level of vulnerability is required to have healthy relationships. Being vulnerable can be challenging and you may face barriers, but it can be worth letting someone know your genuine thoughts and feelings. If you cope with life's challenges by bottling it all up, you may be festering resentment or expressing emotions in unhealthy ways. Vulnerability can provide a sense of belonging and is essential to the human experience. Oh, yes, it is. If you learn your barriers to openness, you can take steps to overcome them and may even enjoy a better sense of connection with others. If you learn your barriers to openness, I just want to make sure that I got that right. You can take steps to overcome them and may even enjoy a better sense of connection with others. What is vulnerability? When you think about vulnerability, you may have a negative perception, and which I think all of us did, okay, until today on Point of View with Ms. Shirley Polk. But being vulnerable with others is a sign of honesty and emotional intelligence. Oh, yes. When you're vulnerable, you can build trust with others by being transparent and expressive. You can readily admit mistakes, apologize when you're wrong, have difficult conversations. Vulnerability could be defined as a willingness to take a risk, to show emotions, and provide honest expression despite fears. It can be challenging for some people to be vulnerable, and I could probably say safely that probably 99.9% of us are challenged with vulnerability, okay? I'm telling you, challenged by it. Oh my goodness. Why is vulnerability important? Vulnerability is essential for various reasons. Here's one of them: increasing intimacy. A 2019 study indicates that when we're vulnerable with our partners and receive a supportive response from them, this can increase levels of intimacy. Intimacy is the level of closeness we feel with people, and when you're vulnerable about your emotions and feelings, your relationship may strengthen. It may strengthen, oh yes. Increasing trust. Strengthening trust is another essential piece of showing vulnerability. All three of these articles are agreeing with each other. That's why it's so important to seek God when you're relaying information, because I never ever intend to or want to lead anyone astray, give any information that is not good and factual. A 2020 review on openness and trust suggests that being vulnerable means putting faith in others not to betray you or use what you're vulnerable with against you. And see, that is a danger. That's one of my things, because it's happened before. You open up to someone. I'm pretty sure all of us have experienced this, and they throw it back at us at inconvenient times. While you don't know that every person you trust can respect your vulnerability, it may show you that your relationship is trustworthy if they keep confidences. You have to feel safe with someone before being vulnerable with them. Now remember that. You must feel safe with them before you are vulnerable to them, okay? That's a fact. Oh, yes. Increasing intimacy. Increasing trust. Strengthening trust is another essential piece of showing vulnerability. I know I'm repeating. A 2020 review on openness and trust suggests that being vulnerable means putting faith in others not to betray you or use what you're vulnerable with against you. While you don't know that every person you trust can respect your vulnerability, it may show you that your relationship is trustworthy if they keep confidences. You have to feel safe with someone before being vulnerable with them, as I repeated that, okay? Increasing emotional expression. The ability to express emotions is another reason vulnerability is essential. Vulnerability may help you express your feelings, whether they're positive or negative. New research on vulnerability and coping with stress found that vulnerability was associated with high levels of emotional expression and social support. Wow. Benefits of being more vulnerable in life. It boosts emotional intelligence. It enhances your self expression. It deepens emotional, physical, mental, and spiritual intimacy. Strengthens your trust. Helps fortify bonds with others. Oh, yes. Barriers to vulnerability. Fear is one of the most significant barriers to vulnerability. You may choose not to be vulnerable with others for reasons including fear of hurting others, experiencing rejection, having what you say used against you. Most folks have had these experiences from time to time. Didn't I tell you? You might have to take a risk when you step out of your comfort zone and open up to someone. Sometimes that risk helps you form closer relationships with others, and sometimes it may help you learn who you can trust. And sometimes it might be to our own detriment, but we'll get over it. Oh, yes, we will, because we are strong, we are resilient. Oh, yes, we bounce back. That's the way God made us. Bad past experiences may also be a barrier to vulnerability. Oh, yes. For example, if you've been open with someone before and it did not go well, this can make you put up walls. On the other hand, learning how to develop trust and being aware of others' intentions may help you carefully navigate vulnerability. Oh, yes. How to be more vulnerable. If you have trouble with being vulnerable or choose to be vulnerable and have feelings of guilt or shame, there are some steps you can take to help yourself. First, practice your self compassion. Practice self compassion. There we go. Research from 2021 focuses on the link between self compassion and vulnerability, indicates that practicing self compassion can help you avoid judgments about yourself after showing vulnerability. The authors also suggest that you can alter your perception of showing vulnerability to others, shifting the view of vulnerability from negative to positive and mitigating feelings of shame. Find supportive people. Can't stress that enough. Finding supportive people helps foster vulnerability. When you have a sound support system, you don't have to fear what your openness will be used against you, or you don't have to fear that your openness will be used against you, or that someone will betray your trust. Social support or support of a life coach or therapist can also help you cope with overwhelming emotions. So let's do a recap here, okay? This is psychcentral.com. Vulnerability is being open but also understanding. By doing so, you're taking a risk. See, that's for real, okay? That's the real, REAL. Boundaries to accent vulnerability can help from someone abusing the power of intimate knowledge, because some people will do it. For many people, being vulnerable requires feeling safe. Necessary components of healthy relationships include expressing emotions, building trust, having intimacy with people. These are all benefits of vulnerability, but fear can hold you back from being vulnerable. You can balance being vulnerable by choosing who you surround yourself with. You can also withstand openness by practicing self compassion. For more on vulnerability, you can check out these reads. And this is, uh, what is it? Daring Greatly, how the courage to be vulnerable transforms the way we live, love, parent, and lead by Brene Brown. Then there's The Vulnerable Man, Break Your Patterns, Master Your Emotions, Reclaim Your Life by Thomas Anderson. Then You Are Your Best Thing, Vulnerability, Shame, Resilience, and the Black Experience, edited by Tarana Burke and Brene Brown. Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is good. Thank you, Psych Central. Thank you, Psychology Today. Thank you, Psych Share. And thank you all for being with me. I love you so much. We have learned so much more today. It is just a wonderful thing. I am just so grateful. I love you so much. Tomorrow is From the Biblical Files of Dr. Mack at 1 p.m. That's on Wednesday. On Thursday at 1 p.m. is Point of View with Miss Shirley Polk. On Fridays, it's the Mother's Board Inc. with Dr. Mack and myself. On Saturday, 7:30 9 p.m. is Greater Gospel Temple Church of Praise and Worship and Inspiration of God Ministries. Uh, Saturday evening Bible lesson session. On Sunday mornings is the Manna from Heaven. Sunday morning Manna from Heaven. Greater Gospel Temple Church of Praise and Worship and Inspiration of God Ministries. Monday mornings at 7 a.m. Monday morning, 5 minutes of prayer. I love you so much. God willing, join me on Thursday. Join Dr. Mack on Wednesdays. But every day of the week, you can go back to YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, uh, Africa TV, AFREECA TV, and Twitch.com. I love you. Thank you.